I once saw him kill 3 men in a bar with a pencil. Pencil.
Hello everyone, it's Ledger Forever, and The Continental is coming to streaming not too long, not very long. So let's review all the John Wick movies, starting with the very first, John Wick 1, John Wick Chapter 1. I'd probably say John Wick Chapter 1. So we're gonna start by reviewing John Wick 1, and then in probably a few days I will go on to Chapter 2, then in another few days Chapter 3, Parabellum, and then in another 3 days, a few days, then Chapter 4. And we're going to start by talking about this one. We're going to start by talking about the good. So let's talk about some stuff that I would say is the best in this movie. So I would say this has the best story. It's the most simple. It's the most simple of the stories. It's the best of the stories, in my opinion. It's the most focused of them, where sometimes they would go a bit out of focus at times or go on like a bit of subplots. But this one focuses on its story until like the last 30 minutes, which I will get into when we get to the bad. But John Wick is one of my favorite movie characters. He's just such a nice person he doesn't want to be a bad person anymore. It's just as when these idiotic guys then decide to break into his house, rough him up, kill his dog, take his car, and kind of like mess up his house a bit. He then goes back into action on a violent killing spree. This is a very gory movie. One of the most violent movies I've probably ever seen. Chapter 2 and 3 are more violent. Chapter 4 is the least violent, by far. And boy, this movie is fun. It's my second favorite in this franchise, behind one more. And the story can be a bit simplistic, but there's some really good scenes, including like the standout scene being the scene in the nightclub or something like that, where the person that ordered the dog to be killed, he that's where he is, and John Wick is mowing down people with a gun, just shooting them left and right and center, killing them in some really creative ways. Because if there's one thing you can say about John Wick, he is a very creative killer. He's done some really creative kills in the past. You'll know more about that when I talk about my review for Chapter 2 and Chapter 3 Parabellum. And wow. And he does some really cool stuff in this one. You could tell that he was a bit more innocent in this one, because he does actually spare a guy's life that he actually didn't know. He says, "Why don't you take the night off?" When he's pointing a gun at his head. So he's a bit nicer in this one, but in other cases he's very merciless. He will not spare anyone. He has one of the highest kill counts of any character in a movie ever. People say that James Bond kill count is higher. I don't count that. Here's why. James Bond's kill count is so high because they're counting Connery, Lazenby, Moore, Dalton, Brosnan, and Craig. And Craig had a huge kill count, which means that counting those together, his kill count is enormous. And counting all of the Bonds together, that should not be fair, because there's several iterations of him. Meanwhile, Wick's only had 4 movies, and he seems to just get more. He just seems to rack up a higher kill count per film. He kills more than 100 people. Well, I mean, it was around like 90 to 100 people in the second film. The third film, he kills over 100 people. That's what I know. And the fourth film, I think he has a higher kill count than any of the others. He's a machine, and I really hope we get a John Wick Chapter 5. Just the way that Chapter 4 ended, I don't know how they would be able to. Maybe like a prequel to John Wick 1, 2, and 3, 1 through 4. Or, I don't know. That's up to them. But I'm fine either way because I do think that 4 really gave him his character arc. So I don't know if we even need it. I'm fine either way. But this is an amazing franchise I love to return to. Now we're gonna move on to the bad. If I had to fault this movie, I can only find one thing to fault. That the end. Well, our main plot is supposed to be that John Wick is going out for revenge, right? And over the course of the film, we see him carrying out revenge. But as soon as he kills the final person that he's supposed to be killing, there's still like 30 minutes of the film left, like 30 to 20. So we're confused, and then we see that it's not. We see that he then wants to go and kill his dad because he's trying to kill Wick, and that just feels weird because it feels like it's now a subplot or something, or they just tack that on to get the runtime to not just be like an hour, like an hour and a half, just so it could be like an hour 40. So then as soon as you get to the fight, this overweight, elderly man is beating up Wick. John Wick is like one of the best, if not the best, hand-to-hand combat and choreographed like fighters of all time in movie history, and it just makes no sense that he could do that. Like, this elderly man is beating up John Wick, and John Wick could easily have killed him if he wanted to. I know that. Because he's John Wick. He should have been able to do that. That is where I would fault it. It feels kind of like it's going a bit over the top in that, but other than that, it's a really, really good film. This is like a top 10 action movie for me. All the John Wicks are up there. Like, John Wick Chapter 3, Parabellum. My least favorite one is like a top 20 action film. That is when you know that you have made a good action franchise. So, if I had to... So now we're going to rate it. I would give this I think it is a 9 out of 10. 9 out of 10. That is what I would give it, and I love this film. Actually, I would go probably 8.9. 8.9 to 9 out of 10. That's what I'm going with. And let me know what you think about John Wick in the comments below. Have a good discussion, and please click that like button, and please click that subscribe button. I am 1 subscriber away from 100, which is a enormous deal for me, which I cannot believe. I would love to actually be able to have gotten 100 subscribers, so please be that 100 subscriber if you're not already. So click that like button, click that subscribe button. See you all in my next video. Have a good one.